Hi guys, RGS here, really gross stash. If this video gets 1,000 views in under a week, I will shave it, otherwise it's gonna be in the best list too. And it's gonna be longer because I'm not gonna shave it, and it's probably gonna be even worse, but it's your fault. I'm gonna blame you. So okay, before you get to the actual video, I wanted to say some reasons why this video is so late. First of all, I had college assignments by the end of November and start of December, and this time I couldn't really write the script while those were going on. And I was starting to write the script in December, but I felt really ill throughout most of December, so I couldn't. And also I felt a little bit demotivated because of this terrible year, and I didn't get the motivation until recently. So yeah, that's why it's much later than usual. I'm usually much earlier in this stuff. Yeah, that's kind of like a disadvantage to being one of the last people to come out to the race. I'm kind of like the Michael Bloomberg of the Billboard worthless makers. Michael Bloomberg, what a topical reference. So it's also a bit late because it's my first time editing with Adobe Premiere instead of Sony Vegas. I could go on saying a lot of things why I prefer one to the other, but nevertheless I really had to get used to Adobe, so the editing process also took a little bit too long. So yeah, I hope that you have a I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you had some nice holidays, and see you in the other side. The other side being the outro to this video, not afterlife. Do I have to do this? Do I hate this. I hate this room. I hate this room. I hate its stupid red ugly wall. I don't know why I always make my videos here like it looks terrible. I only make them here because I have a table and a chair. That's the only reason. That's literally the only reason I use this room. And oh well, I have to do it. I have to get my money. I have to recapitulate the year because, oh boy, we all need to know what the worst songs of 2020 were. Don't we? I guess. By the way, this is my setup now. I don't really care anymore. And I think it looks better than just looking straight at the camera. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with this. I don't care. Number 15. You know, every year I come in and do the exact same intro, recapping the whole musical landscape of the year and such, how the charts were, so on and so forth. But not in 2020. See, in 2020, I felt a lot of sadness, resentment, and anger at many things: politics, economy, society, culture. A lot of bad stuff happened, and I was pretty stressed out, not gonna lie. And of course we'll remember that little thing that affected everyone, the little thing that got inside some people, the little thing. I didn't have the mental capacity of getting mad at, I don't know, Chris Brown because, there were bigger fish, there were other stuff that kind of, I don't know, like mattered more, I didn't really have time to get angry about music. I'm sorry, guys. I just didn't really care. Now, even if I get angry in this video, it's gonna be all performative. Like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't know if it's just because everything else was so awful or because most artists executed at a 4 out of 10 level at worst. Many of these picks probably wouldn't have made my last worst list, and keep in mind 2019 was already a scarce year for terrible hits compared to others. I'm going to pick on a lot of fizzy targets, like with little to no insight, because there is targets, especially near the bottom. Like, for example, this one. Who cares? Who cares? This one is a flop. I don't know if it even counts as a hit. Jonas Brothers had an awful failed hit single right at the beginning of the year, like in the middle of January. I was genuinely scared that it would lead the way of pop rock into the decade, but no. It went away really fast. 24K Golden and Machine Gun Kelly were the leaders of pop rock now. And the Jonas Brothers comeback just stopped mattering just as soon as I hoped it would. So yeah, good job guys. Just stop playing Only Human on the radio, please. I just included here because I needed an easy 15 spot to round it up a bit, you know, 14 is not a good looking number. And speaking of number 14... One margarita, two margarita. Stupid country song. Luke Bryan has been an awful artist for over a decade and nothing we will ever do will make him stop that. And I guess it's not his fault, this was recorded before the pandemic, but it became big right in the middle of the summer and all I could associate it with are those middle-aged couples breaking quarantine to go to the beach for some reason, which made it have a worse taste in my mouth. But the rest is pretty much just Luke Bryan being Luke Bryan, an idiot. Overall it's not harming anyone I guess, unless you really think that it's enabling the coronavirus. We'll talk about that way more later. By the way, this list is like 15 songs because I don't have any dishonorable. I hate that word, dishonorable. This list is only 15 songs because I have no dishonorable mentions. And that's how much material I got. Like, I hate this room. Why do I always film in this room? There's always birds and shit. Like, who's next? Russ?
Like the way she works, yeah. She always puts me first, yeah.
Russ. No one likes Russ. I have listened to like 4 songs by him, and all of them were either chasing a trend, trying too hard, just sucked, all of those. Russ is one of those cocky, easy to hate online rappers like Hobson or Reason, but I still thought that he was above making an ass anthem. Or more specifically, I thought that he was above making an ass anthem. I don't want to listen to Russ making an ass anthem. It's a really bad concept and execution is just not good.
I love her, she's a freak. I promise if I could, I'd fuck her 7 days a week. Face from the Middle East.
You have this spooky, I got 5 on it type beat, and you ruin it with that squeaky bed sample. It's just so lame. Best on Earth. More like the 3rd best song on this list. Since it's the 3rd least bad one, I don't know. B.A is good on it though. Now you wanna somehow easier target than Russ? I do not hate AJR because hate is a strong word. I do not care about AJR honestly. Do I like the music? Not at all, or at least I actually thought that, for example, Sober Up was kinda sweet I guess, and their latest album, Neo Theater, was okay. I'm looking at the lyrics and they're alright by their standards. With time they've been trying to act more and more like grown-ups, which is cool. You often feel the pressure of becoming an adult. I also feel that pressure. A couple of these guys are already like 30 though, so like that's kind of concerning. Not for them, but like in general, like if it takes that long to settle in, oh boy, I'm gonna have a wonderful couple of years. Anyways, I just think that this sounds like poop. I don't like clown music and this just sounds like a whole circus, so they just lost me really fast. The music video is a continuous shot that zooms out and then zooms back in time with the music, and that's cool for like a second and gets obnoxious very quickly, which perfectly captures what it feels like listening to the song. So yeah, sentiments and lyrics are fine, I guess they're fine. Performance is okay too, it's not as annoying as they usually are. I just hate literally everything else that's going on musically. I hate the cheap pianos, the bombast, the stupid metronome, it's just noise to me. Maybe if there's a remix that changes the beat completely to like EDM, I don't know, I will dig it, but right now it's just a no for me. Why am I even talking about this? Let's just get to the list proper. Let's stop wasting time. How about we talk about an artist who I actually really like? Remember that song Highest in the Room where Travis Scott was like, she filled my mind up with ideas. It was about his girlfriend at the time. One of the genders, I don't even remember who. And it turned out that his girlfriend had dumped him like the exact same week it came out. And ever since then his mind has just run out of ideas.
Yeah, in my white tee, yeah, color white Williams for the hype, please.
I have soured on Travis Scott more and more with time, and especially this year. I just remember listening to Burst in a Trap and Rodeo like 4 years ago and being intrigued by these new artists who aim to get trap to a higher level, but I guess he just hit the top already. He's the highest in the room, but he's not really breaking through that ceiling anymore. In 2020, more than ever, it seemed like the cracks were showing, mostly from his multiple brand deals including Sony, Fortnite and especially McDonald's. He's all about his image, and that image is all about nothing but hype. Every single song he makes has to be big and grand and such. He's one of those artists who can hop onto another person's single and it just becomes his own song. And lately that just means that all of the personality is sucked away. Travis has devolved into a blank canvas of autotune. He spent this past year just making substanceless songs and driving them to #1 just out of hype with diminishing returns afterwards. While I did like Highs in the Room and the Scots, franchise was just a giant mess. If Sicko Mode was him proving that he put shit together like glue, here he's trying to assemble it randomly with like saliva or boogers or whatever. None of these verses and hooks really go with each other in a way that makes sense to me. I didn't even realize that song had a hook until he kept repeating it, and it's a stolen hook at that, because of course it is. People were saying M.I.A's verse ruined the song, and while I'm not gonna call it good, the other guys didn't help either. They just sound so bored to be here. Travis is using the exact same flow for like 2/3 of the track, and Young Thug is just phoning it in. Even though I usually like Travis more, I'm disappointed by Young Thug in general too. The moment I started to get him, I just became utterly bored by a lot of what he has done. We've gotten to the point where Chris Brown is outperforming him on songs. Travis tries to switch it up by the end, but it's just too late. I just feel nothing from this. I don't feel anything from this song. I don't feel hyped, I don't feel relaxed, I don't even feel annoyed. Even with the awful mixing and that obnoxious looping bass throughout the whole track is just dun, dun, dun. They put any random sound effect or adlib or noise possible. It doesn't sound big, it sounds messy and mediocre. Honestly, nothing I say about this song even really matters, honestly. Like, I just hate that it rhymes Zootopia with Utopia. It's not like Zootopia though. Zootopia is a utopia. It's like saying New York City is like a city. No, it is a city. It's just so redundant. I hate it.
Bangers in the system, is that? Bangers in the system, is that?
You know, after Vine was considered like a terrible hellspawn for, well, several things, but especially popular music, it's kind of a breath of fresh air how well versed these TikTok kids are at picking hits. Even like the bad ones are like ignorable or just like kind of flawed at worst. Teenagers in this side are really good at deciding what to make big hits, honestly. Not all of them though, and not all teenagers are good at making said hits. Jawsh685 is a weird case for this channel because he's just a normal teenager who accidentally got one of the biggest hits of the year, mainly because it went viral on TikTok and then another artist hopped onto it.
I got the horses in the bag.
Okay, maybe it's not that uncommon anymore. I personally do not like this beat at all. It sounds derpy, clumsy and cheap. Reminds me of the very worst of that dancehall trend from a few years ago, just bad to me. But apparently it has a lot of cultural significance. It's called a Siren beat because of a New Zealand tradition of making beats and playing them through sirens. That's pretty cool, I dig it. So I'm completely okay with Jawsh685 making the squeaky beat big off of trends. That's completely alright by me, even if I don't dig it. Any beef I have with this song is basically thanks to Jason Derulo. Jason Derulo is really bad in this. I haven't talked about this man in a while, mainly because he's barely had any significant hits since I started making these videos, but I'll just let you know, I think Jason Derulo is one of the most okay pop stars of the past decade. I don't care about him one way or the other. However, even then I expected something way better from him. I at least expected this to be raunchy or trashy, not as saccharine as this is. I guess this does resemble his previous worst hit, Trumpets, the cheap horns and the corny as hell lyrics. Actually not only corny though, they're kind of creepy too. In this song, Jason learns that his girl only pretended to love him to get back at her ex, which is a really scummy move. She clearly does not care for him, but then Jason pretty much becomes a full stalker and tries to make her stay every night and every day. Honestly, that makes me not root for either of them. Also, I promised myself I'd never do it, but I guess I have to. I think BTS, who are usually pretty alright, I don't hate them, they're okay. I think they sound horrible on the chart-topping remix too. Without their usual glossy instrumentals, they sound like they're trying too hard as well, especially with certain words like... I'd say that's the worst part of the song, but then someone decided to lower J-Hope's vocals at one point and it makes me want to J-Hope a car runs over me. Maybe I just hate the phrase I love your savage love because it just feels wrong, especially with how whispery they sing it. It's a no for me. Jason Derulo sings "You Can Use Me" in this song, but it's clear that he's the one who's using someone else. In this case being Jawsh. He stole a beat that was already a viral sensation to get his first smash in a while, and now he's just blatantly trying to replicate it with his newest single, which sounds exactly like executive producers reverse engineering Savage Love. He even does the stupid dance again. Although I guess you could also say that Jawsh 685 is also using Derulo to springboard his career and make another awful single, this time with Love and Tyga. Because we just cannot have nice things, I guess. So, what's the lesson? I don't know, if you got a hot beat and you let giant superstars steal them from you, hope that there's backlash because you're gonna make a lot of big bucks. For the record, I encourage any producer out there watching this to keep making beats, keep experimenting, playing around with whatever samples, instruments and programs you have. Speaking of producing, by the way, so if anyone knows, I'm a huge advocate for sampling. I am very much obsessed every time some hip-hop artists twists and turns and all sample. That's my bread and butter. I love that shit. Not only in rap though, I welcome it on the genres like pop and EDM. That's pretty cool by me. I really welcome it. At least most of the time. Okay, so this is #1 country hit song There Stands the Glass by Webb Pierce. It's a pretty neat song about a guy who drinks away his sorrows after a breakup. It's very effective, 50s ballad, the kind of folk country that a hack like Sam Hunt can sample and get some cool brownie points for publications, I guess. Oh look, he used an old song and put it on a shitty trap country hybrid that's all cheesy and solo. Makes the song sound more dated than anything, straight from the depths of the hell that was trap infused bro country from several years ago. But oh well, I guess I'm Pitchfork, so I gotta give it a 7 out of 10. The correlation with the sample doesn't even make sense. The original is so melancholic and miserable. This one is just an upbeat cheese fest where Sam Hunt, Mr. Body Like a Back Road, who's now married by the way, keeps fawning over some woman and pretends that she's the obsessed one. If Jason Derulo sounded desperate, Sam Hunt just sounds completely pathetic. Sam Hunt just tells us that this girl is totally fawning over him, playing hard to get or hard to forget, without any fun subtext. We just have to take his word for it and say he's so unlikable, I don't. Even if the joke is that Sam Hunt is obviously wrong, I mean, he's seeing her in clouds and smelling her perfume. It's really not funny or fun in general. It just makes Hunt sound more and more like a douche. More than anything, like I said before, my problem is how the country machine works. Other acts in Nashville will struggle to get any attention or sustain success, yet this asshole keeps getting rewarded for, at best, mediocrity. More than the actual music, I hate how many publications have decided to praise him to no end, especially his terrible album Southside, which more than anything just paints him as a really unlikable douche. This is nowhere near as bad as Body Like a Back Road or several of the countless other subpar songs on the record, but it's probably the most musically deficient. I just hate this beat so much. Like the damn sample keeps coming back, and it just reminds me of all terrible distracting samples in pop songs. The worst I've seen since like the Black Eyed Peas. I'm offended.
I learned that shit down in Mexico.
No, you know what? Let's do a worse one. Let's do an even worse one. Just embarrassing. Just so embarrassing. The Black Eyed Peas decided for some reason to come back to the mainstream. Not as the flawed but lovable club banger makers of the late 2000s, or even the more political, lyrical, spiritual rappers that got them so much acclaim in the 90s, and which seemed to be their new route that they were going to take a couple of years ago. But screw that, reggaeton makes way more money, right? By the way, when I say I'm offended, I'm not talking about the disgraceful mockery they're making out of the Latin American culture. I probably should be more offended by that, honestly. Especially since I'm Mexican, but yeah, that's pretty shitty. It's more by the lack of any musical integrity that they put on display throughout this album cycle. It's not that they don't know how to make Latin music. It's more like it feels like they don't know how to make music anymore. The Black Eyed Peas were far from the most talented group, yet they still had somewhat of a spark, which their new record translation does not have at all. These songs are more like will.i.am's uninventive solo material in the middle of the last decade that barely had a groove or an original thought. Ritmo got most of the hate because it was so huge, that hate being mostly warranted because the piece just dropped some of the cheesiest lines of the year.
I learned that shit down in Mexico.
Although at least J Balvin and the samples make it at least somewhat enjoyable, even though Balvin is really funny then. And the use of both Rhythm of the Night and You Know You Like It is really uninspired. I still hate that in a Bad Bunny dominated year where even all acts had good reggaeton hits, this was the only quote-unquote Latin song to hit the year-end list. It's just shameful. But replace Balvin with Ozuna and implementing its sample even more clumsily is such a downgrade. I don't even know if I actually hate Ozuna anymore. I swear I want to give him a chance like I gave a chance to other artists. But he should just stop trying to mix with artists who aren't reggaetoneros. It never works. Shout out to his song with Sia and Doja Cat earlier this year. That's not a compliment, it's really bad, but I don't know what's the proper antonym to shout out. The sample used here in Mamacita is one of Madonna's La Isla Bonita, but it's nearly unrecognizable in the worst way possible. It is a terrible drop. The song starts with Ozuna being all romantic and suave. Or at least he's trying his best to be, but he's doing alright. Then boom, we're not salty. Well, not before this, of course.
Mamacita, que bonita.
Sexy, isn't it? Let's make a song called Mamacita, which, by the way, super original, and then call woman that in the ugliest, worst filtered voice possible. Poor Rey Soul, their new female member, she gets to get a feature credit for some reason to have the line. Plus, she has to work it harder and dance in a music video. Meanwhile, the Peas are literally just standing or sitting there doing nothing. I know that the song barely has any forward momentum, but watching them not even move makes it feel even less danceable. When Ozuna is the best performer and lyricist on your song, you really know you messed up. Especially when you got lines like, give me that, give me a kiss, give me your heart, give me body. When you give body, I won't let go. Taboo gets a total of 4 lines, and there is a repetition or redundancy. Like, of course they gave the least lines to the actual Latino in the band. And Apple's verse is just horrible.
If you're hot, baby, let me undress you.
The only reason this is so low on the list is because the Black Eyed Peas just had worse and even worse singles this year, including, but not limited to, a You Can Touch This remake featuring Tyga and Nicky Jam, an awkward Shakira simping anthem, and whatever No Mañana is. Cool dance move, guys, now I know why you were just standing around. There's also the Maluma one, which... I I could dedicate a whole video talking about that disaster of an album, honestly. Maybe I should someday, because I haven't even mentioned the non-singles like the COVID BLM closing track that makes no sense, or Get Loose Heart, which has great lyrics like boom, bam, get it, fuck it up. And that's the whole song. I miss Fergie. Justin Bieber won't have a song on my list.
Yeah, you got that yummy, yum.
That's weird to me and probably to you, since it's probably his most consistently bad year. He's easily like the worst pop star of the year by far. Pretty much every single he released this year just sucked. It started with the stupid fiasco yet somehow best of the punch that was Yummy, which again I like, but it's like super embarrassing. It all went downhill from there. Intentions had a bouncy groove and catchy melody, yet every single lyric is just insane and not well thought out at all. Holy is also earnest, but had a bunch of wacky lyrics, including another half-assed Chance the Rapper verse. I don't know why the hook is like it is. Lonely was somewhat praised as being a step forward about how much he suffered throughout the years, because he used to be a defenseless child who just got barely any actual support in his early career, and he nearly pulled it off, but again, it cannot be a Justin Bieber 2020 single without an hilariously awkward moment.
I'm so lonely.
Every time I hear that, this is all I hear. This is all I hear.
I'm so
So yeah, no, Justin Bieber is not on the list. Kind of.
bitches calling my phone like I'm locked up non-stop.
Honestly, as terrible as Bieber was this year, the one thing I'm so happy he never made was a straight up bragging anthem. So seeing him play the part of Drake on a massive self-circle jerk where he mugs to the camera while he dances with biners, cars, luxuries and models in a gigantic mansion makes this honestly more punchable than any Yummy Yums or Hearts Full of Equity could. There's not much else that sums up this entire year, like Bieber saying
2020, I came to fuck it up.
Also, I have to remind you that in his next video he portrayed a down on his luck oil worker that got evicted from his shitty apartment. Just such a tragic everyday story. But just 2 weeks before we had kind of breaks the illusion, doesn't it? Also, Scooter Braun. Worst 2 seconds of the year is, I know it's not actually part of the music, but it's just, I hate it. I hate it. Not that the song itself is much better. Drake opens the video with a skit saying how this song was a reluctant favor and it would be funny if it just didn't show. It's so terrible and half-assed. Most of the time an artist works with Khaled, it feels like a favor for him or just for the money. I really thought that after that last album flopped hard and we all kind of tried to make him disappear, we wouldn't hear from him in a while. If he could against several of the hottest artists including Post Malone and Travis Scott on the same song to spawn even one hit, what could he do? DJ Khaled is not an artist. I don't care if the video says that as a joke, he's just an annoyance. DJ Khaled is an artist the same way that an iPhone is like a video game console. Sure, an iPhone has games and it gets the job done. I've spent like 4 quarantine months playing Among Us on my phone, but would you take it over a real console or a real PC? You wouldn't. You really wouldn't. Sure, DJ Khaled has some good songs, but he doesn't do much. He doesn't do anything. Basically, every artist that hops onto his tracks has much better material without him, you know? Like, it's not like, oh, okay, this is the best of the best. It's like, they're throwaways, honestly. And unlike an iPhone where you can do several other things or that play games, you take away the artist, you're left with nothing. DJ Khaled is just a big pile of nothing. It's sad I'm ragging on the people that didn't actually do anything because it's definitely just Drake's fault. Bieber is just lip syncing and Khaled never actually contributes anything. I mean, I think Khaled produced this beat, but I don't care, it doesn't sound like it. He probably just added a couple hi-hats for all I know. It's just Drake letting him get another throwaway track, his most disposable track in a year where he made a whole album full of demos. Actually, the video's really fitting because Drake somehow sounds like what I would imagine a white bro like Bieber would sound like if he was doing an imitation of Drake.
Pieces, my girl. I'ma show your sexy ass what relief is, my girl.
Seriously, why does he keep doing these weird inflections that don't flatter him at all? This is easily his dorkiest hook in a long while and not in an adorable way like in Hotline Bling. It just sounds like he's stumbling his way throughout it. This song just feels like a really bad freestyle.
Bitches calling my phone like I'm locked up non-stop.
It's just so actively dull. The minute the beat kicks in and Drake starts yapping, I'm already so bored. Also, I have no clue how true the Ghost Rider rumors were from a while back, but if he did have them, I wish they came back because his attempts at punchlines are so corny.
Nah, piece of cake, nah, Turks and cake, yeah.
I mean, at this point, it's really just another one. Another lazy, bad, lifeless Drake single, another chance for Bieber to try to look cool, another underserved hit for Khaled, and another migraine every time I listen to it. POPSTAR. More like POPSTAR. Haha. My Discord friends told me to keep that in, so I did. Yeah, that's it. That's the entry. Next. Oh, by the way, I forgot. I lied. This was the very last addition to a list. Pretty much every other entry was set in stone for months now, but I wasn't sure if I was going to include this one. I was like, sure, this is very insensitive considering the current situation and the lyrics could have been better, but the bass song wasn't that awful, certainly not as obnoxious as Savage Love or Bang, certainly not as dull as Franchise or Popstar, not as stupid as Hard to Forget or One Margarita, this is just okay. Like if this came out in another year, this would be forgettable at worst. Yet, at the same time, it honestly just felt right, mainly because of two reasons. The bass song is still pretty bad, and even if it wasn't, who would want this, and why? So as a standard tune, this doesn't really work. It's obviously just a retread of Ed Sheeran's love ballads, specifically Perfect. It tries to have that same groove, but it lacks the same delicacies and tones that make that song work. It's so stiff and empty by comparison. It's always at the same level of energy, it never swells, it never changes, it's just comatose and sluggish. People rag on the other Bieber hits, but at least they had a bit of life and unintentional comedy. However, this could not really matter much in theory if the artists were able to carry the tune. Ariana on paper totally works. She is a great vocalist, she can sing the phone book and sound passionate. Hell, I think she sounds more into this song than she did in her collaboration with Gaga earlier this year. Her saying "at least I'm alive" in the most deadpan way possible is kind of a mood though, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, she cannot make this work. And that's because she's in a duet with this guy who basically has no chemistry with anyone or any talent whatsoever. People complain that Ed Sheeran and Beyonce didn't match together, and mean, of course they didn't, but at least both of them could sing. Bieber's either straining his voice to try to keep up or just not trying at all. I can't even say that this sounds like they didn't record this together because it's obvious they didn't. For several reasons, including that we're stuck in our goddamn houses. But it doesn't even sound like they know each other, there's no spark whatsoever. It's just Scooter Brown using his devilish powers to get an easy number one under the pretense of charity. The hook blows too. Stuck with you, stuck with you, stuck with you. It just sounds really bad. Not only the delivery, but the line itself, which brings me to the lyrical content, which is why this song sucks. So when I heard that Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande had a quarantine song together, I rolled my eyes a bit, thinking this was just gonna be some generic crap, which it really is. I didn't think it would try to make being locked up with someone sound romantic. That's not romantic though. That's really not cool. There's a difference between seeing the good in the bad situations and just straight up calling those bad situations good. I wouldn't go as far as to call it Stockholm Syndrome or something like that, and maybe this was early enough in quarantine for people to not be tired of being stuck at home. Which I can tell you, I was tired, I was really tired, and I wanted to leave. I still want to live. Help. But this song just rings hollow because you know how rich these two artists are, you know how unaffected they were by the pandemic compared to most, so there's not really a personal connection. It doesn't really reflect how most spent quarantine. I think of our songs like that 21 Pilot single, Level of Concern, at least that one like acknowledge, oh shit, this is a shitty situation and I'm not feeling so well. Are you okay? Ariana and Bieber feel so detached that the listeners become detached. It's a pointless song. By the way, speaking of detachment, I was gonna say that Stuck With You is the least funny Bieber song of the year. But I'm not gonna lie, that final note is so spectacularly bad that it gets a chuckle out of me every time. Ariana giving it her all just for Justin to completely fumble it. It's like if Whitney Houston texts us for the evening was performing I Will Always Love You and that some guy came in like... Did they care? Have Ari and Bibbs thought about this song ever since it came out? Was this their first take? I mean, it sure sounds like it. I almost want to say that this level of disengagement is the point, considering nothing really mattered in 2020. But that's really not the case, is it? People's experiences during these awful times were very different, but still I just don't like this. I don't want to be told that I should be feeling good, you know?
Hey, feeling good, like I should.
No. Why? It sounds bad. It sounds really, really bad. But unlike Bang, I cannot dismiss it as just, oh, it sounds bad and I don't like it. Because at least AJR, I believe what they're saying. I would never call them fake. Which is something I cannot say about Surfaces who, I'm guessing they're androids, lifeless androids created by the Good Place because, God, they're so artificial. It's insane. Every year or so there's like one or two vapid nonsense happy pop hit songs that don't mean anything, don't serve anything and feel like they were created by a machine to appear in car commercials. Sometimes they have other lyrics other than just being happy, sometimes they have a nice group, sometimes they're decent, and sometimes they're even really good. This is not any of those things, not even close. This just makes me irrationally angry every time I listen to it. I didn't want to correlate it to the pandemic because not only did this come out way earlier than the pandemic, and I'm pretty sure if this had been a hit like 1 or 2 years before, I would have been so jaded that I would have hated it anyways. And yes, I know some people consider it a comfort song, and that's totally fine. If you like this song or any of the songs on this list, leave a like, comment and subscribe, hit the bell for more notifications. But I am so sorry, this is the last thing I want to hear in this hellhole of a year that was 2020. The melodies are stilted and awkward, the mixing is terrible, you can barely hear the instrumental. I have no clue why the vocals sounds like this, or why the production choices even happen.
There is no way you're grounded.
I almost thought that the production was so botched and unflattering that it ruined the vocals, but my little curiosity made me check and no, these guys do sound like the white Christian, even more boring versions of Khaled. I don't like to throw around terms like white privilege just because, but something about this song really irks me. It not only feels detached like Stuck With You did, it feels inhuman, like you gotta live a way too peachy entitled life for you to make a song as mechanical as this one. Plus the way it adopts elements of trap for no reason feels so forced. Dumb as hell, college bro, Chance the Rapper light, motivational horseshit. I don't believe you and I bet that everyone here is fake happy too. What a fitting name for a band because it's just so surface level, I hate it. Next. Not a good segue, but I really miss Use World. I really do. I really took it for granted a lot. He had so much potential. And I knew at the time, but I didn't... A part of me didn't want to express it, and I hate it. I hate it. Every time... It's just so disappointing. The fact that 2020 was a really successful year for him with several hits on the charts turns from commendable to morbid when you realize he wasn't even alive at any point of it. He didn't even make it into the decade. And with over 5,000 unfinished, unreleased songs, there's gonna be a lot on the way for many years to come. And that just makes me kind of sad. Yet for some reason someone must have thought we wouldn't have enough Juice WRLD songs, because in between his passing and his posthumous album, we got this huge smash hit that pretty much did everything he did, but way worse. Way worse. Okay, I promised myself that I was gonna be less mean than before, because these are people making these songs. These are actual human people making these songs. And like, who needs so much negativity nowadays? I mean, we don't need it. But man, Trevor Daniel might be the worst newcomer of the year. I just cannot take anything away from this song or his music at all. This is probably the least useful smash hit we got this year. I just have no clue what you can even get out of it besides annoyance and resentment. Just like we have enough actually good happy songs for anyone to go back to Sunday best. Falling by Trevor Daniel, like, there's other sad songs. There's like a barrage of sad songs. We were in the saddest era of pop music. Why do we need this? It barely even registers as a love song. This is a love song. It sounds like it's about a bitter, hateful breakup, but no, the lyrics are all lovey-dovey, but you cannot tell at all. I cannot tell what this song is really going for at all. The song feels like a rough cut conceived in a matter of hours with only one real verse. And that's because it's literally just that. It's literally just that. The only thing that has any presence is that bass that goes like brrr for like a bit and that goes away. The singer definitely doesn't have any presence. Again, I don't see why we need him, and it becomes more clear the more songs you listen from him. His album sucked and he had to get Selena Gomez of all people to give his next single any personality. Selena Gomez, more personality. Imagine making a song with Selena Gomez and have her not be the blandest part of the song. When you compare Trevor to Post Malone or Juice WRLD or even The Kid Laroi, who people really despise for some reason, even if you don't like any of those artists, I get it. At least you can hear the passion, at least you can feel something from them, even if that something is being annoyed by them. I just wanna be. There's no one to blame but me, don't need to wait for me. Which is fine, I guess, but at least that is something. Trevor Daniel sparks no reaction. It's a pointless song. He's a mix of Juice, Post, and every other white boy musician that gets big off of TikTok, but without any of the melodical skills any of those have. It genuinely feels like he's making it up as he goes along. You need me like I need you. You feel how I feel for you, love. I am so in love with you, Cynthia. Plus, just like the last song, the vocal production sucks. I don't know why this verse has this awful backing vocals. Only one that I give my time. I don't know why this was big at all, especially on TikTok where you get big out of a short catchy snippet of your song. This isn't even catchy at all. This isn't even catchy at all. I don't know why anyone connected with it. It's just a song with a bunch of I don't know whys. Even if you feel like an edgy, depressed teenager, just go listen to The Kid Laroi, I guess, because he's way better. He's way better. It's ugly for the sake of being ugly. It's following trends just because they're popular right now. No thanks, I'd rather have that Harry Styles boring Louis Capaldi tear ballad of the same name, honestly. Okay, I filmed this, like, the whole Cynthia part really got me tired, I don't know why. Hold up. Okay. That's honestly not fair. Harry Styles is a really good musician. His worst songs are better than most best songs. I'm glad that someone from One Direction really got a stable career, and he's not the only one. I guess Niall and Louis have really good songs, and Zayn still has a couple hit or two. Liam Payne sucks, but that's a given. I don't know. So they have successful careers, and I really like that they have at least one guy who has a consistently good output. But man, I really wish that the female One Direction had that at least.
Say he likes a good time.
Remember this thing? I wasn't even in like the Camila Cabello hate train like most were, but after Senorita and after terrible flop single and terrible flop single, she finally got a terrible hit single, and it felt like she did so by cheating because, like DaBaby, stop making so many favors, please.
To make a turn on the daddy, the baby. I'm not making a line to a daddy.
DaBaby is on here because of course DaBaby is on here. I don't even want to call his verse bad, although it is extremely phoned in and uneventful. It's more disposable than anything. You could replace him with any other rapper, Quavo, Lil Wayne, 2 Chainz, and it would have likely had the same exact effect. He's only here to grab a paycheck, and they only put him here because he's hot right now. Otherwise, I don't think anyone would have gravitated towards this cheap, gloomy, pulseless, non-starter that doesn't flatter her at all. It's not hot or commanding at all, it's mostly just irritating with a call and response hook that doesn't feel as playful as it should. Now, I haven't mentioned what most people think about when they think about this song. Isn't this just a ripoff of her previous hit, Havana? Now, I've been trying to abstain myself from making such claims. I think calling songs copies of other songs is more deconstructive and unfair than anything, even if it is a positive comparison. Pop can be a limited genre at times. Tracks are going to share elements with other tracks. That's pretty normal, pretty natural, and there's nothing wrong with that. That being said, the similarities between these two songs are so uncanny that I cannot ignore them at all. The structure is nearly identical, right down to the rap verse and the melodic bridge. The subject matter is also about a dangerous bad boy. But I guess this time she's also the dangerous bad girl, which... The tropical Latin vibes are similar, although way more muted. Even the music video has the same movie industry aesthetic, just in black and white this time, probably to symbolize how M.I.A lost all of the color that made Havana a good song. The instrumental was more luscious and organic, as well as the melodies and the young talk verse who knew how to work with the beat and adapted his voice to it. Plus it has that tom tom. Most rappers don't even try to do the tom tom. DaBaby just delivers a corny verse and begrudgingly leaves. He doesn't have any chemistry with Camila, which is a problem because he is sort of playing the bad boy character Camila is talking about, a role which he is surprisingly horribly miscast in. Again, they have no chemistry. I cannot see them together at all. You can see the lack of passion in this phony, sparse beat as well. It has none of the Latin bounce. It gets even worse with the bridge. In Havana, you get a kick-ass trumpet solo, while in M.I.A you get Camila trying to imitate a trumpet. Okay. I forgot about something. Oh yeah, have I mentioned that Camila Cabello cannot sing? I originally didn't expect this to even make the list, but the more the year went on, I realized this song and Camila Cabello in general, even at her best, can't really offer me anything new, let alone anything good. M.I.A is a no fun barrage full of bad choices, and it gets worse and worse the more you go back to it. I don't know how labels are going to try to push her now after the album underperformed. Since this song left the charts, she's been really inactive and hasn't done much besides passively making Shawn Mendes' career worse, whose material is also doing way worse than you'd expect. I don't know what black magic happened there, but they are a really cursed couple. The way we essentially replace Zayn with Harry, I hope that Normani or Lauren or someone else from 5H takes Camila's place, because at this point, why do we need her? You know what? Screw it. This was a really great year for country, goddammit.
I don't wanna be a one-man band.
Any year where country genuinely made me have several songs of its genre on my playlist, it's a good one in my book. Lots of interesting, beautiful, introspective hits with a sense of nostalgia and wonder that even made grumpy old me have his heart grow 3 sizes. I really dug a bunch of country this past year, from Maren Morris to Ingrid Andress to Maddie and Tay. Good year for country women, by the way. But even in the male side, artists like Luke Combs, who I really hated before this year, had multiple songs I really liked. Even the weaker smash hits are better than in other years. And yet that goddamn trifecta of terrible artists keeps coming back. It keeps coming back. I already covered Luke Bryan, I already covered Sam Hunt. Let's just get this over with.
I love my country, I love my country.
Florida Georgia Line making a song called I Love My Country in the year 2020 is just... I cannot make this shit up. It's basically a spoof song played completely straight. It's literally the serious version of that degrading tune I made a couple of years ago, where I pointed out how tired country was at the time. It's shameful.
Barbecue, steak fry, styrofoam plate, date night.
Florida Georgia Line back then even seemed like they were turning a new leaf, but in 2020 they released their worst single and probably the worst country single of the year. And that year we got songs like My Truck by Breland,
Don't touch my truck.
something called Dig Down in Dallas,
She's getting digged down in Dallas. Real out and run.
plus the aforementioned Sam Hunt and Luke Bryan singles. It really is just the same bullshit. Listen, a bunch of cliches like beer, women, sports, going outside, playing instruments, etc, etc, all in a super positive, stupid voice that I just... This is basically just Sunday best with cowboy hats. It's really just that. Just like that song, it also sounds like garbage, overproduced, and I feel like I've listened to these gross guitars and fills over 2 billion times. Apparently it rips off a Kane Brown song, but I don't even need to compare it to one song. It sounds like 20 other songs. This is exactly what I hate about country music. Again, Florida Georgia Line rewarded for a continued mediocrity when there's way better music out there. Hell, this isn't even mediocrity anymore. This is regressing back to a sound that they had created and abandoned. Maybe they wanted their protege Morgan Wallen to adopt their bro country sound, but when he started to be actually good, they had to go back for some reason. You don't have to keep that subgenre alive, guys. What are you doing? Modern pop stars failing to experiment with new stuff, or newcomers failing to stick the landing. I hate to see established artists not improving after years and years. That applies to these guys, that applies to Luke Bryan and Sam Hunt, also Jason Aldean, who made the same song every single year since God knows when. It also kind of applies to Blake Shelton, except for that one song that he made that was good. That's what I don't like about country. It's so regressive. Every 2 steps it does forward, it takes like 4 steps back. It's tiring. That's why I don't like country usually, but I especially don't like this because this is terrible. And okay, I don't like getting super political in this channel. I don't, especially because people have told me this is more about the country genre and not the country, the United States. But man, releasing a song called I Love My Country in a year, well, to be nice, I'll say that the US kind of proved that it's not so lovable, honestly. It's not. Like, it's really not. This is another one of those songs that are bad, but get worse in the context of the year it became big. And country genre, the actual US country, it's honestly the same to me. It's been so intertwined for decades now that it's impossible to separate, at least for an outsider like me. Patriotism isn't inherently bad, I guess. The music video sure has a lot of it. It has as many American flags as a Michael Bay film. Hell, the United States have been so divided that even the duo that's supposed to represent and bring together Florida and Georgia is apparently separating because, just like the States, they have conflicting alignments. There are rumors of a breakup. They announced that they are making solo albums, which it's not a good idea when only one of the singers gets to sing all the hits. But yeah, even they can pretend that everything is alright and peachy, okay? It still makes me uncomfortable regardless. It's like, have you not seen what's around you? Florida, Georgia line. Come on. Come the fuck on. And even if it's not about the country, the genre, good artists aren't making this type of music anymore. Get with the fucking times. God damn it. This might not be the actual worst hit we had in the 366 days of the past year, but it's easily the one that will represent the god awful year of 2020 the most to me. God damn it. God fucking damn it. Florida Georgia line again. Okay. And finally, my number one hit of the year. It's that song. You know, that one. The one that came out some months ago by that person. Maybe had a guest artist, I don't know. You know who. You know who. I haven't even listened to it, to be honest. And I never will. It's probably the worst song of the year, easily. At least hit song. And again, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, great. That's even better, because who cares? This was the year that Bieber proved that no one's thoughts don't matter. And you can just insert any song I didn't talk about here instead. I mean, where's Suicide? Right here. Where's that Julia Michaels duet? Right here. Something by Chris Brown? You got it, girl. One of them girls? That song sucks too, so sure, here it goes. Who lost? Who's next? You decide. I'm RGS, and see you for the bestest, which I actually care about. Hi, you've made it to the outro of the video. I don't do outros. So you're gonna watch me here, standing here. Okay, so a lot of songs that I wanted to include. I really wanted to include that One of Them Girls song, but I couldn't really write it down why I hated it, but I really hated it. The Put Your Reckon song, I was really tempted, but it would have been a really last minute decision. I had already written and recorded my list by the time that I realized I hated it. There's also a few international singles like that Sia, David Guetta song Let's Love, that one's horrible. And it plays a lot on the radio, and now that I'm driving again, I hear it more and more. I probably should have put it there, but I don't know. I'm planning to mention these songs probably in the Billboard year-end ranked or something like that. It's gonna be a little bit different this time. The best list is also gonna be a little bit different, but I hope that it's pretty good. This is more than 20 seconds, so bye.